Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I'm going to be sharing my screen.
Okay. Hablar del Atlas Marino.
Okay, now to refer to the Caribbean Marine Atlas. This is something that has already been talked about by my colleague Garcia. Let me just concentrate on the technical properties of this project. This atlas is gathering information from 637 information resources between layers, documents, and maps. And all that information is being documented through metadata based on ISO 19115. And this is all supported in a platform called GeoNode that I'm going to be detailing soon. But this allows the countries that constitute this network to become the managers of their own content, allowing them to decide the type of information they wish to publish or upload through a series of quality controls and protocols that have been jointly defined by all members and with the expected curatorship of the experts by the managers of the platform. So GeoNode is a geospatial content management system. We all are familiar with IDSs, and this is basically a platform that uses open source software with a lot of data used by many projects, and the user interface is quite simple. It allows users who are not expert to share data and to create maps. It has data management tools that allow to create metadata, to create and edit maps. And these data sets may be shared publicly or privately amongst the users that are part of the platform and that allow us to create a community, to develop a community expert. And what we're trying to create is this community of users around this type of use and management of data. And it's also a very flexible platform, and the software developers allowed it to be modified and to continue developing. It has quite a steep development curve. It has developed very fast, and in 5 years, it has become a tool that has evolved in, I don't know, 500 or 600% at the level of software. It has the following components: Django, Python, PostgreSQL, GeoServer, GeoWeb Cache. It can use PyCSW and Maxtor as a Mac client. Our GeoNode architecture is the one that appears on screen, where the basic nucleus is the GeoServer, and from there up, we generate a series of elements that allow for the creation of this user interface. And at the level of the database, this platform can by default use the post-IGIS, and it can also be used through Oracle Spatial or Microsoft SQL Server. For the Marine Atlas, this is configured within a Docker platform. And it is geared to be very simple for the users so that managers or administrators who install and deploy Google Node can add new functionalities and integrate it to other types of system. Now, we can take raster and vector data, and through the management of metadata and through this tool, we can create products and create spatial resources that are interest to the user. There are advantages and disadvantages. First of all, it is a fresh and modern interface. It is collaborative and it's easy to use. It is not necessarily it does not necessarily require me to go to the GeoServer interface. There is a very simple and user-friendly interface that allows me to start creating. I can, as an expert, go into GeoServer and make the necessary modifications. And if you use more developed database and special service, such as PostGIS or GeoServer, you can have products with sufficient maturity. You can have metadata management using other types of software. You can use XML files by ISO, FGDC, or Dublin Core. There is documentation for users, for administrators and developers, and we use OSGOs that allows a series of resources to be used. As for the disadvantages, it is not possible to broaden the series of attributes handled by the metadata. If I need these attributes to be greater or lesser and I cannot modify them, then it means that I'm forced to use an alternative platform such as GeoNetwork, Django, or for a Windows setup, it could be a little bit complex for non-expert users. Things that our users can do, the end users, those who are in the different countries and who can self-manage information, then can create and upload maps and upload documents. There are different styles to do this, and this can be do directly from QGIS or QGIS, and they can have all the graphic representation or cartographical representation. They can create GeoNodes and create maps. And with the latest versions, these maps allow us to create geovisors through different platforms that allows us to have visors with widgets and using ESRI or bring up data or indicators of our KPI, etc. One of the interesting things to mention is that we can use these tools to create story maps. So as a user, I can create story maps within this platform. And this is also available to the user community. You can upload documents. Sometimes we have information that not only has to do with vectors, there are collections of data, geographical data that are contained in static files, and those are maps in JPEG or PDF, and maps that have digitized that are now available through this platform, as well as other documents that also allow us to provide information regarding remote resources. So simply said, I can make my atlas have a link to an external link that relates to the topic at hand, and I can make comments and present data through the platform. Now, as regards to management, well, one of the interesting things is that this is a CMS, a content management system, and it allows for a very simple way of creating sites through Django or other portals. You can manage security for user groups, create roles, create users. We have user catalogs and experts that are part of the platform. So we can really manage all the layers, the documents and the maps. We can have a mass edition in metadata lots or batches at the SMS level. I can create menus, modify topics as if we were working to modify or create special menus that can address different needs of the different projects. I can also manage the keywords, the categories, the thesaurus, the list of categories, and it also allows for the management of metrics monitoring so that we can know where the users are connecting from, what resources they're using, and also the true behavior of the hardware that we're using to display these services. Within this platform, we also do not just limit ourselves to share these resources, but we go a step further by allowing the publishing of indicators. This is a tool that the users can use to publish and disseminate indicators. And in this process, we have 10 indicators. And I'm not going to go into detail, but there's this workflow that allows us to identify the needs and the publishing of the indexes. And for the representation of the same, we have a process. And through GeoNode, we publish the data through the APIs, and all the APIs allow us to connect to WSF, and sometimes we connect to open source external channels, and we go through Power BI from Microsoft in order to allow this information to be shared in the community.
This is in general, we wanted to create a very interesting experience. We are using data that these are tabular data, spatial data, in order to generate through a very visual and very appealing interface, something that will also be open code. And we have many dashboards available to the Marine Caribbean community. And through that workflow, we can also create other links. I probably went beyond the 3 minutes. And this is a URL where you can visit the atlas. This is my email. You can write me an email if you want to, if you have any questions.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Leonardo, and the timing was spot on. It was excellent. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Leonardo? We have 1 or 2 minutes that we can, maybe 1 minute, we can take a quick question. No, nothing coming in the chat, and I don't see any hands. I really liked the idea of of using the API there to build Power BI dashboards as well, to share kind of some different information with the communities as well. So that might be something I get in touch with you about later. But that was really nice. Tanya asks if the Power BI requires a license. I don't know if you know the answer to that.
No, efectivamente, la licencia que estamos utilizando de Power BI es una licencia.
Indeed, the BI license that we are working on is free. We are using all the things that Microsoft offers free in the community version. This is why we do not need to pay any licensing cost. This has all been published with Office 365 open data or open source features.
Great, thank you. And just quickly then, Pierre Luigi was asking if you developed the dashboards and the indicators in consultation with the local communities and the end users of those dashboards.
Sí, de hecho.
Yes. I went over that slide very quickly. I was showing a workflow, and that workflow made us identify, first of all the countries that are part of the project and what were the common needs that had to be taken into account. Those elements were identified, and together we defined indicators and determined that all the participating countries would have the data set so that we could represent the data for each one of them, so that we could guarantee that the spatial resources and tabular resources would be available, because it makes no sense to create an indicator that will also be used one by one. In this case, this was a Caribbean atlas, and we wanted to use common parameters so that we could compare each other and so that we could see how we were behaving together. This is why those indicators you saw there were agreed upon with the technical staff of participating countries. The methodology sheets were adjusted and validated with them. We prepared the dashboard prototypes, because looking at data in open data is not that easy. Sometimes it can be represented in 50 different ways. And if I have 5 stakeholders and each one of them wishes to answer a question with that set of data, it will be different. So we had some validation workshops in order to reach a consensus, and so that the visuals we wanted would represent their interests and the data sets, so that data sets would be validated together. Now, in terms of technology, the implementation was very easy. The most complex part was to agree, all of us, in order to have this end product.
Super, thanks, Leonardo. And Pierre Luigi left a response there for you in the chat that I'll let you read as we move on. Thank you again for that great presentation.